Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is.
Pedo.
Pat, do you know that it's not really that special? It's just something that kind of dawned on me, and it's special to me. Did you know that this is the 65th episode of On Wednesdays We Talk Weird?
I did not know
Isn't
that.
that insane? I mean, I guess maybe it's just me because I've been doing it for, I guess I have been doing it since April of last year, but you've been here since September. I mean, I think you've done more than half at this point. Um, it's crazy. 65 episodes. It's wild. I don't know.
That's a milestone. That's pretty good.
I don't think it's a milestone, but it is to me. So
Right. Well, so it is. So I was fucking right in the first place. Jesus.
I'm
It
sorry.
is.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tear you down there. How was your weekend?
It was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Father's Day. And
Yes.
so it was the one day where I'm celebrated for this decision I had to make all these children.
I don't think that was really a decision, was it?
Well, but yeah, so it was good. It was successful. I had the only thing I wanted. So there's this restaurant chain in Chicago called Kuma's Corner, and they're like, it's just like a burger place, but all the burgers are named after metal bands, right?
Oh,
So
that's
there's
cool.
like the Metallica, there's the Megadeth, there's the Pantera, there's the Opeth, there's the Children of Bodom, and like every burger is different and somehow like kind of associated with the band that they're named after. Okay, so there's a couple on the north side. There's one downtown. There's one in the suburbs. Actually, they started to branch out. There's one in Colorado. I think there's one in Indianapolis too. But when I worked downtown, which I did for a very long time until just about a year ago, I ate there probably at least every other week on payday, if not as many times as I possibly could. It was my favorite place in the whole wide world to get lunch delivered from. But I
Okay.
never actually went to the place because the lines were always like super long and it was always really crowded. And, getting delivery was easy, but like I never actually was there. So about a month ago it was probably like 420. It's like 2 months ago. They announced that they were also offering a whole line of THC infused products as well
Oh,
as like take home stuff like gummies and pre rolls and stuff like that. So when I heard about that, I immediately called an audible and was like, "This is all I want for Father's Day. I just want to go here. I've never been here before." Um, and that's what we did, and I had a really good time. Although it's very underhanded to serve THC in that kind of environment because like all you want to do is keep eating, right? So like this whole like
yeah.
restaurants that sell like THC drinks, which is what I had a couple of. Um, Man, that's dangerous. You know what I mean? Because
Just keep
it's
sucking them down. I need a
right.
refill.
Yeah, because it's one thing like when you drink, because like if you drink enough beer, like you tend to get bloated, or if you get, I mean, trust me, I've gotten wasted and ate a shit ton before too, but like this kind of lends itself to that more. So, luckily we went on Father's Day weekend, so it was kind of crowded, and there was some like outdoor festival thing going on in that area, so we weren't really able to camp out for that long, which was good because otherwise, I probably would have done
Yeah.
some serious fucking damage, and been on like, my third order of buffalo strips before they pulled me out of there. Yeah. So that was my
Well,
Father's Day.
it sounds like you had a great time. Yeah, I
I
didn't.
mean, that's what I wanted. That's,
I got to an argument with my kid on Father's Day because I told her she should wish me a happy Father's Day, and she's like,
I completely agree. As a product of a single mother, that's exactly how I was taught.
well,
So
it wasn't like, oh, you need to do this. It was just I was just kind of joking with her, because she's 9, but she was like, but you're not my father, you're my mother, and I was like, okay.
well, there's days where you were both, I'm sure.
Today was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, on Father's Day proper, we went over to my mom's and we brought her ribs and I hung out with
yeah,
her.
yeah. Well, that's usually how we do Father's Day and Mother's Day around here. Is that my mom will help out with my daughter and I'll get Mother's Day. My mom's birthday's in May. So then my mom, of course, within a week of Mother's Day, then we celebrate her birthday, and then she gets Father's Day. So, it's a good trade off. So, which we always, we tend to do something for her anyway for Mother's Day, but whatever. That's, neither here nor there, but a couple people wished me happy Father's Day, and I was very proud of that moment. So it was neat. But yeah, I've still been recovering from my sickness. I have been trying to get very serious with my physical recovery because, a week from, well, I guess today, which is, for us, technically tomorrow, but for you guys, it's today. It's my birthday.
It sure is.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I'm going to be 30 on the 30th, and I'm freaking out about it. So, that's great. And then, but this weekend I'm having my birthday party. So,
Okay.
And I have not had a proper party in quite a while. So I'm very excited. And then of course, there's, my birthday, and then fucking 2 days after my birthday, something insane is going to happen.
What's that?
Oh, like you don't know. It's okay. Nobody else knows. We'll tell them. Pat's coming here to visit. Me and Pat are going to meet each other. We've never met each other. We talk to each other at minimum once a week for probably, I'd say, a good 2 hours at a time, right? Every week. So it's going to be very exciting. We are probably going to be inebriated by, I'd say probably about by 3:00. So.
Well, because I'm doing I'm not getting there until that night. I have to recheck the itinerary, but yeah, because we're doing the crazy Noah's Ark thing that afternoon or that morning. So, but yeah, I'm sure within moments of crossing the city limits, the shit show will begin. But.
Okay, well, I'll be inebriated by 3:00, and I'll see you when you get here. So. Well, either way, we'll figure it out. It'll be so exciting. We're talking about plans of, what we're going to do. I'm not going to say anything yet because nothing's solid, but, it is going to be a very special occasion. So,
sure.
That'll be, super, super great. So that'll be lots and lots of fun. So look forward to that. We also have a couple of, things coming up this week. We got the Clubhouse thing. Do you want to tell them about the Clubhouse thing this week, or you want me to?
Well, let me just say this. So I teased it. Or I tried to promote it last week's show, and I didn't know that I had the date wrong because I was drunk when we set that whole thing up. And it turns out that I have my first Vampire the Masquerade streaming thing that night as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which I'm thankful for the opportunity. There was a lot of hand-wringing this season about whether or not I was going to do it. And I eventually decided to do it because, number one, I do kind of like gaming, and it flexes different muscles that I'm not necessarily used to doing. And, I guess it brings me to a different audience, which could potentially bring a different audience to the show. So there's that. And also I don't get asked to do things a lot. So when people ask me to do stuff, well, that was at the time, that was my mindset was that, you don't have a whole lot of people beating down your door. When they ask you to do Dancing with the Stars, do Dancing with the fucking Stars.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You got nothing else to do. So this was all right, well, I guess I'll take this shit show on the road and do Dancing with the Stars again. And, now I'm insanely busy with a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, it was, so that's going on that night. But as soon as that's over, I am going to hop on the Clubhouse. And I talked to
Greg.
Yes, thank you. You knew I was I talked to him, and it should work out okay. And I'll just kind of pop in at the end, and we should be all good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's cool as hell.
We're going to be talking about Bigfoot exploitation movies. Really bad.
Right.
Well, they're not all bad Bigfoot movies. Mine's a bad Bigfoot movie, but I don't really know about the others. I haven't seen them, admittedly.
Did you watch the Tanya's Island? No. Terrible.
I bet it is.
No, I said you're terrible.
I'm terrible. Tanya's Island is not terrible. It's good. I don't know. I got in late to the chat, so by the time I popped in, a bunch of conversation was going on. Either way, whatever. I'm just going to kind of play things in the background. as we go. And then I kind of want to bring up some other notable movie monsters and things like that. I think it'll be a great discussion. I'm excited about it. And then actually the night before that, Wednesday night, which is typically the Bigfoot Society podcast recording, we've taken a break from recording it for June. However, we've still been doing the Wednesday night rooms. We're going to be discussing books.
Yeah, it's you and Kinsey.
It's myself, it's Kenzie Gleason, who was on the show previously, and it is also Aaron Dees from Hey Strangeness. And Aaron is he's a big listener to the show, so of course I'm all in full support here. And he's very knowledgeable. If there's anything that kid knows, it's definitely his books. So it'll be fun. So that's kind of what's up for this week. I know that Friday evening, it's not Joe Bob night anymore. I'm very sad about it, but it will be back. But that's okay, because Friday night I will be on with Ryan Tremblay over at A Whisper to a Scream podcast doing a live stream, and Ryan's going to talk about, once again, which he's told here on the show, his dog man encounter. And, of course there's live Q&A involved. So definitely join that if you want to join that. So there's my shameless plugs for my own show for my own shit for the coming weeks.
And then the party's on Saturday.
The party is Saturday, so make sure that you're there. That's it's an open invite. I shouldn't say that kind of shit. People are actually going to show up. I'm going to be beside myself, like, oh no. But yeah, so that's those are the plans going forward.
So. I want to. So speaking of Kinsey, you brought up she's going to be on the show for the thing with you tomorrow. I listened to the season finale of the Manic Pixie Dream Ghoul podcast.
Yeah, you get it right.
Yes, I had to pause. I had to
the Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls. Yes,
right. And the majority of the show they spent talking about the missing 411 stuff, which was like the wrong shit to listen to right before we go to the Smoky Mountains for a week, because
are you nervous?
Yeah, but I was gonna, both of those. So we're gonna be in Kentucky for a little bit, in Tennessee, and both of those states are open carry states where you can like basically walk around with a pistol on your hip the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Which I'm not necessarily gonna do, but I'm definitely bringing a bunch of survival gear, and we are going hiking into the Smoky Mountains one day, and I'm gonna like tie my kids to me like we're Australians at Disneyland. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna have all my kids on leashes and shit. And no one's gonna get missing 411 on my watch.
I don't blame you at all there. I mean, it is well, don't say that you won't, because then you will. But yeah, no, don't be 411. I would like to continue to have you as my co-host.
Although I did decide this after, and they brought up a good point on their podcast. They were talking about if either one of them ever goes missing, don't call the police. Find a podcast, a true crime podcast run by two women, and get them to solve the missing persons case. And I think in this, if God forbid something were to happen, that's probably exactly what I would do in this situation. Like, obviously, we would go to the police and the FBI, but I would also get the cryptid investigator podcast community to fucking come down. Yes, I'll give you guys full access to this. You guys got a front row seat to this investigation. Come out here and make your footprint cast shit. Do whatever you guys want to do. Just
I know we'd be really good. I don't know if you're into and which I kind of keep touching on, but I'm part of all these true crime Facebook groups. Let me tell you something. That yes, those women find out shit quicker than anybody right. I've ever seen. They know it all. And it's like, some people would be like, how do you know that? And everybody's just like, have you not been paying attention? And they're always right every time. At the end of every trial, they were right about everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that, and one more thing I wanted to bring up, piggybacking off your no more Joe Bob comment, is that I finally, so this week for the season finale was Roger Corman movies, and I had seen both of those several times.
Yeah.
So I decided to sit down and watch Things.
Yeah.
And wow, I don't normally, when people are like, you just got to watch it, like you won't believe it. Normally when people say that, I'm like, motherfucker, I've seen everything.
Yeah.
And I still have seen everything, and everything now includes Things, and it's definitely I would for as much time as we spent talking about it on this show,
Uh-huh.
and for as much press as it got a couple weeks ago when it was part of the drive-in,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that anybody who even has an inkling that maybe someday they would like to have a hand in the filmmaking process needs to watch that movie
Yeah.
and realize, motherfucker, the bar's that low.
Oh yeah.
Because that's not only is that not a good movie, but like it is kind of the only thing that stops it from being unwatchable is how fucking off the wall it is.
Yeah.
And so it becomes almost, you watch it as a curiosity. And I'll be honest with you, I did not finish watching it. I made it like probably,
Really?
I would be like an hour into it, and I'm like, okay, it's poorly made, and it's very all over the place, and all it did was make me angry that I haven't at least done that yet. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are you sitting here watching someone else's fucking piece of shit movie? Like, this thing was and that's when I went through and I'm like, I made, how many short films did I make? If you add up all the running times, it's like almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
This thing's like 75 minutes. It looks
Yeah.
like it was shot on a VHS camera. It makes
Yeah.
no fucking sense.
None at all.
Yeah, it's entirely all over the place. And yet it's streaming on Shudder, and it probably 2 weeks ago, a couple million people probably watched it.
Well, and like we said, probably the most viewings that it's ever gotten ever. And well, I think I said that maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I mean, what, 30 years later after it came out,
Yeah, but I think that's something that anybody who's ever tried to make anything at some point in the creative process has pushed themselves away from the table, looked down at what they were working on, and said, this is shit, and thrown it out. And the thing about Things is that they didn't throw it out.
No, they didn't.
They finished it, and then they got people to make it, and then they got some girl to be naked in it, which always blows my. Well, not so much anymore, because now I'm older. I realize that people just do that shit. But like, I remember like being younger and thinking like, how could you, like, you must have to like either like to come up with something that was so substantial and good that an actress would like take her top off in it. You know what I mean? Like, it must be a really good movie.
It was Amber Heard, but who's a porn star. You didn't watch the Joe Bob commentary version of it, did you? Like, because you can go back and rewatch The Last Drive-In, so like he gives you the commentary and stuff. But it was I
thought she was the news reporter.
She was.
Oh, but that's her in the first scene too?
Yep. The only way she would, for whatever reason, especially because she'd been in so much porn at that point, the only reason why she agreed to be naked was if her face wasn't in the shot. That's why she's wearing a mask.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but she was also the news reporter, which also, why, I don't know. It doesn't matter. You know what? There's no, don't question this movie. Just watch it. But I agree with you. And that was the point. Well, which I guess is why, again, if you can watch it, if you can watch it on Shudder, watch the Joe Bob commentary, because at the end of it, he explains why, they had extremely bad movie night. And that was kind of why, is just because it didn't matter. They made their movie. Good for them.
Right.
Still did
it. It was inspiring, but it was also kind of frustrating because, it's like you got that big milestone next week where you hit 30. Well, I had one where I just hit 40.
Right.
And the existential dread that you think that you're going to feel when you hit 30 is nothing compared to what happens when you hit 40. Well, actually, I take that back. I was totally fine with turning 40, and I was pretty much okay with turning 32. Although when we get off there, I'll tell you what I did for my birthday party. And
oh gosh,
it sounds like you're going to have a comparable evening. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you hit those milestones and there are opportunities to kind of take stock and watching it. I think I was also in a very introspective state of mind.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, what the fuck? Why am I watching? Like, I don't know. Like, it was good. I definitely, I'm glad I did it. Thank you for pushing me repeatedly to watch it. And I would recommend that the audience, if you're any type of creative, take an hour to watch Things and let us know what you think.
Yeah, I would certainly never call it good, but it's you know what? It's a fun watch. I do highly recommend watching it with a couple of buddies because it is hilarious.
It really is.
It's really fucking funny. And it's a whole experience because you're gonna have so many questions at the end, and that's none of them are answered. So don't expect that. But just enjoy it for what it is. It was just a couple of chuckle fucks wanting to make a movie, and they did. And
were they Canadian or Northern Midwestern or something?
I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I
think Canadian. I think Canadian.
It might have been. They might have been.
Yeah.
I know that the VHS tape sells for $5,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it's got Amber Heard nude on the front. That's it. That's the only reason. $5,000 for a naked picture. You can see that shit for free on the internet. It's crazy. It's crazy what people will pay for. Let me tell you that. But okay. Hey, that's your money to do with what you want. But no, I'm glad you finally watched things. It is an experience. It is kind of one of those things. If you are an aspiring filmmaker, that I think that you do need to sit down and watch, or not, not even just an aspiring filmmaker. I think for filmmakers, it hits a little more closer to home, but for anybody creating anything,
right.
Like you said, it really sets the bar that much lower, and you can look at your project and be like, well, it's not things. So
right. Everything
that bad.
You never know on a long enough timeline when something's going to find its audience. But the thing is, if you never make it, it'll never find its audience.
Right.
But who knows? That movie was made 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I don't know, who knows how many millions of people have watched it in the past couple of weeks.
Right.
Because of Joe Bob and because of this whole thing.
Right.
And, you could write a poem, or you could paint a picture, or you could, do something that, 30 years from now, someone discovers and half the planet watches it because it goes viral, and you know what I mean? Who knows? So
right.
Just keep making. I mean, don't make stuff for the applause. Make it because you got something to say. And these guys have shit to say.
That's kind of along the lines with my buddy Big Dill. He's got his Big Dill made this video of a skinwalker scream and posted it on YouTube. He was, he had like YouTube, and as we've talked to Big Dill on the show, he was into filmmaking and stuff, and it wasn't a real video. It was a fake video that he had made and he sent it to a friend. It was supposed to be an inside joke amongst him or what have you. And he checks his email one day and finds out that his video has millions of views. His video was just out of nowhere for no reason, like a year later, gone viral. And, because people thought that it was real. And, from there, Dill went on to he was on Paranormal Caught on Tape, and they're going to use his clip in some movie or something. I mean, you absolutely, and again, that was bred from just a joke amongst friends. I mean, you just really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, life is so goddamn unpredictable. So make the things and outshine things, because you absolutely can. At minimum, you could do better. Well, anyway, are we ready for some news? You want some news?
Yeah, let's do it.
I got some good news this week. I'm really excited about it. First and foremost, the Naval Medical University in China did something that was really fucked up, actually. So they took two mice. They took one male and one female, and they sewed them together. They created like a conjoined twin kind of, and connected their blood vessels together. Then with the male mouse, they took a uterus and transplanted it. They gave them a uterus. And the point of this was that they had noticed that nowhere at all, anywhere on the earth, has a male mammal ever been impregnated. So they wanted to see if it was possible to make that happen. So they had this uterus and this male, mouse, and they were putting embryos inside. It wasn't artificial insemination, but they were, placing embryos in the uterus, and it was able to carry full-term babies, I guess, little mice babies. I don't know what they're called, and birth them. Well, it was by C-section, but it's been the first successful pregnant male mammal. What was really interesting is that they did this every time that they had a successful batch. They had a successful litter. It was only also when the female was pregnant. So, for whatever reason, that connection to that pregnant female made it possible for this male to carry, babies. So,
Mm.
again, this is fucked up, right? I mean, this is like some sci-fi shit. Like, this is kind of gross.
I guess, that's what animals are there for. Like, that's a terrible thing to
Um,
say, but like I don't know. I mean, why it everything seems unnecessary at like I guess, but then there's some application where it can, So I used
yeah,
to
I
work
mean,
with.
I understand the point of it. And, the point of it was to show that, the point of it is eventually to have the science to where we have people that are, transgender eventually be able to, go from, if they're going from male to female or what have you, to be able to, have live births or carry children or, what have you. Which I'm not a transgender person, so I can't tell you what's important to you and whatnot. That's not my place. But I guess it's just a matter of ethics when we are, forcing forcing male mammals to become pregnant. I mean, obviously the mice can't consent. It's just a very weird. I mean, it's
Well,
disturbing.
I think animal testing gets way more invasive and fucked up than
It
that.
does.
I mean,
It
that's
does.
the tip of the iceberg. You know,
Yeah.
what comes to mind for me is I used to have a coworker that was, I guess you would say like an incel,
Okay.
and
Sure.
he was like radically. I don't. I he learned very quickly that we were not all on the same page as him, so he kind of like kept to himself a little bit, and me being like just the person that I am was always trying to bring it out of him because I wanted to hear what kind of insane shit he would say. And I remember him. We were in like I said something once or whatever, and like on this we were having a conversation at work, and I had kind of like said something that he thought made him think that like me and him were like cut from the same cloth, I guess you'd say. And
Oh,
he's
okay.
he's so he texted me a link to some like Reddit or fucking 4chan or 8chan shit. I don't even remember, but I remember it was all about how we don't need women and how
Okay. All
they're
right.
they're they're creating synthetic wombs to raise children and that or to grow babies, right? And like you could just like the only thing with it was like super like fucking crazy, but like I peeked into that world. I guess is what
I
I'm
mean,
trying
why
to
not just
say.
I mean, that's like a crash course on like how to tell everybody that you're gay without saying that you're gay.
I don't know. I don't think he would. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, now we're talking about him, and I don't know what the fucking deal is with him. Though I don't want to mislabel him. It's Pride Month. But like, but it was very like definitely had that like angry incel vibe, like boycott Disney until Kathleen Kennedy is off the fucking board and she ruined
Yeah.
everything, like crazy shit
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
And
weird.
then apparently too, women aren't necessary, and all they do is take a man's money and rob him of his fucking
Oh,
energy and
who hurt
dreams and
him?
stuff. I
Jesus.
know, like I think he just doesn't know how good pussy is. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but like all this,
Yeah,
like all this
yeah.
stuff is saying like would make
Yeah.
sense to you if you've never sucked on tits and like fucking nutted a girl before, But try that, and then you're like, okay, take all my money.
Well, it's good. Oh, well, that's true. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've seen women post very similar shit, and I mean, I just think it's weird. I don't know. I just think it's all, like most of my friends are men, so I think that that's a bit. I think extremism in any right is incorrect. I don't agree with it. But how does this relate to the mice thing? I don't.
Well, I think anytime you get to, so there's anytime you get to bioengineering, And we got to realize that all this stuff starts off small, but on a long enough timeline with enough money and research and climbing the next mountain and going over the next hurdle, who knows where it could lead us. And when
Mm-hmm.
you talk about, not, look, they've been doing test tube babies and stuff like that for years. Like that's nothing. I banged a test tube baby once, and like, so like they exist and they've been doing it for at least 30 fucking 40 years. But, and I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, it's against the natural order. But I mean, like, you're right. Like, so you're talking about doing it so that people that are trans have more options or can experience this or something like that. Okay, that's a very positive. That's a very cool thing, and
Yeah.
I'm progressive, and I sign off on that. Go ahead. If you are going to transition genders and you want to do this, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
But I
Absolutely.
think the other part of it is that it creates an environment where you don't necessarily need both sexes anymore. It reduces the dependency on a female to, I mean, if you look at it at face value, it's reducing the dependency on a female to give birth. And okay, that's great when you talk about like transitioning and shit like that in plumbing, but like, let's extrapolate that. You know what I mean? Like, what does that, could
I
that,
don't think that'll ever be. I don't think there'd ever be enough men in the world that would be willing to be pregnant and
even
birth
if it's done in
babies.
small clusters, even if it's done, it doesn't have to be worldwide, or I'm not saying we eradicate every female on the face of the planet, but especially in places like China where they have population controls and they already have kind of archaic viewpoints on the value of a female life. Um, it's just
True.
weird. And I'm just saying that I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but like,
It's okay.
I guess you look at that stuff and you see, you look at it for face value, but you kind of got to take a step back and say, where else could this go? What are the directions could it go in? All like like, is it transhumanism? Is that what it's called? Like all the like, people that want like cybernetic implants and all that shit,
Oh,
or
I
like
don't know.
genetic manipulation, all that stuff is, I read this book called Hacking Darwin. And I don't remember the guy's name that wrote it, but like, it's just such a slippery slope. Once you start, and we already do a lot of it. I mean, you had a kid not too long ago, and so did I. You know, we already pre-screen, uh, in like, babies before they're born for certain types of things.
Sure.
And what happens if you get to the point where, you know, I don't know. This is
Eugenics, when it starts to get into
yeah,
eugenics, yeah, I understand what you're
exactly. And
saying.
then
I
if
understand what you're saying.
if we say, okay, like, now we've identified genetic markers for addiction and all these negative things, but then we will also identify them for all the positive things. And what if we're only gonna um, carry a baby to term if it checks all these
Mm-hmm.
boxes on a fucking checklist? And
Mm-hmm.
if one country starts doing that stuff, and especially that's what you got to really worry about. It's more these oppressive countries where people don't have as many rights and freedoms. When they start doing it, does it put the U.S. in a position where we need to do it just to catch up? You know what I mean?
That's
I
a
don't
good
know. It's
question. Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
question.
It's
Well, I
just
mean,
once the genie's out of the bottle, it's just kind of like, oh shit. And what the point that the book made is that what we really need is like a UN type organization to oversee all these advancements in genetic manipulation, like kind of like a world council that that kind of doesn't isn't beholden to one country, because the technology is available to everybody everywhere. And we
yeah.
need to make sure that we're kind of like how we have like those nuclear arms treaties and shit. We need to start doing the same thing with genetic engineering and gene manipulation and kind of like fucking with embryos and stuff. Because once that starts a fucking spiral, you know, things could get very weird in a very short amount of time. And there's been no precedence for this. I mean, look at the way that fucking cell phones have advanced in 15 years. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
we start fucking with embryos and stuff, and it could get really weird. We could all end up looking like grays in fucking 100 years or something.
Well, so if this is, I think that the topic in general, it's just, no matter what, if you just take it at face value with the mice experiment, or you dig into it more, kind of like, Pat's obviously done, and really pick it apart. either way, it's a very disturbing concept. If it's something that you're interested in hearing more about, we actually, back when it was Ivy and I running the show, covered this underneath the titled episode, "The Ethics of Science," and
Oh, there you go.
we talked a lot about experimentation and kind of what the limits were and whatnot. So go back and re-listen to it. It's a throwback episode. But no, it's good, and it is. I'm typically all for scientific advancement, right? I'm also very progressive, and I want to see us advance. But I do understand that in order to kind of do that a little bit, we have to set aside some of our more human elements, some of our emotions, to let that happen. Now, I'm not saying just go experiment on people and things like that, but you gotta give a little bit to receive a little bit. So, I don't know, but I just thought it was an interesting story.
In the book, before we move on, the book that I
Sure.
referenced is Hacking Darwin: Genetic Engineering and the Future of Humanity by Jamie Metzel. And one of the quotes from it, like the read this book blurb, is a must read for the entire planet
Oh,
by former CIA acting director Mike Morrell.
oh,
So yeah, it's because it's not so much what about the U.S. It's also like making sure other countries aren't breeding super soldiers and stuff like that. Because
yeah.
once you start looking at the military applications of genetic engineering, are you going to let like if you know that the Chinese are doing X, aren't you going to try to do Y, or are you just going to let them fucking blow past you and create super soldiers? And it
Yeah.
kind of creates like a genetics arm race, which could already be underway, but we'll move on to whatever else you got, because otherwise this is going to hijack the whole entire episode.
I know
Sorry.
that this one's also very hot. This is very hot news. So, a man by the name of Jeff Blask, who is the plans examiner supervisor for the Pecos County Building Department in Florida. I know it's a lot of things you guys don't care about, but you will in a second. He has come out to say that there's been a project that's been being worked on the Gulf of Florida's coast, and it's being funded by the U.S. government. And he had joked after he saw the plans for it, which the plans include a couple of towers and an observatory, things like that. He joked with the project engineer of the project, saying, "Oh, what are they doing? You building some UFO tracking facility?" And he claims that the engineer said, "Actually, yes, that is what's happening here." He went on to say that the project engineer confirmed that they are building a tracking facility, that this is going to be the first of many that they plan to build around the country. Obviously with disclosure being a hot topic, and us kind of, well, we see it in the government, they're kind of raising a little bit more awareness of how much we should really be putting into this UFO, well, what they're calling UAP phenomenon. But that's one guy. Now, granted, this guy does have a history of being an enthusiast. This could all be bullshit. However, he did provide blueprints and whatnot. The project engineer said that this isn't classified information. You can go find it yourself. I just read about this story today, so I didn't dig up any, plans or anything, but it is all stated. When the government has a budget for anything, you as a citizen in the United States, you are supposed to have open access to that information and what they're spending the money on. So it's probably the plans for this. It's probably there somewhere. So you can go see that yourself. That doesn't mean that it will necessarily state the intention of what they're building is used for. But that is the newest in the UAP situation, as far as I can tell. UAP tracking facilities.
Yeah, that's weird.
It is. That's what the show's about. It is. Is it really weird though? I mean, I'm glad that they're doing this.
Why are they doing it now? Why are they
Well, I
doing it
agree. I
now?
think they've been doing it more than just now. I just think that now they can get away with kind of doing it and being open about it because they told the public, like they're trying to act like, oh, we're on your side, which, I think that they've known about these things for a long time. And again, I think they've had these facilities previously and for a long time and already across everywhere. So I'm not really too concerned. But again, it's just a little more, right? I mean, I guess we got to be thankful for the little bit that they do give us. And I think that, this is kind of one of those cases. So
But
that's,
I mean, I guess if we're you can't act like this is new phenomenon. So why are you building the tracking facilities now? And if you've built the tracking facilities before, what have you learned from them? What have you
yeah,
tracked? Where are they going? What are they doing?
right,
You know,
right. What is it?
or
What is it?
if these things are really from outer space and they can do all the shit that people claim they can do, then what's the point of trying to track them in the first place if we don't have the technology to?
Yeah.
So do we have the technology to track them? Okay. So suddenly, but that I don't know. That's
Another slippery slope.
it's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole. I
It
mean,
sure
it's a
is.
logical rabbit hole to go down where you start asking the questions of like,
Yeah.
you know, but I guess we'll see. Isn't that supposed to? I want to say, isn't it like Friday?
It is supposed to happen on the 25th. However, there have already been talks of a delay.
25th. Yeah, it's Friday. We'll see.
So, yeah, I mean, yes. So that's basically what we're doing. We will just wait and see. I know congressional members have been coming forward. They're concerned because of all the talks. I know they've been having meetings about this at the Capitol building and whatnot. So it's still, but it's still very up in the air. I still don't expect much to happen. So there's that. But we'll see, and if things do happen, we'll cover it. I will read all of it. I'm going to read all of it. Do I have time to read all of it? No, not really, but I guess this is my job, so I need to make the time. And I'll let you guys know if I find anything. I'm sure people will get to it before I do. There's entire teams of people that are waiting to read all of it. So I'm
Right.
grateful for it. However, I like to get the information straight from the horse's mouth. So eventually, yes, I'll be reading all of it. And then also this weekend, June 26th, is the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. And this is kind of a big deal because the West Virginia Bigfoot Museum is also having their grand opening that day. Their Bigfoot Museum is on the same street as the Flatwoods Monster Museum, which is in Sutton, West Virginia, which is where the Flatwoods Monster instance happened. Definitely check that out if you're in the area. If not, you don't have to check it out this weekend. Eventually, make your way down to Sutton. It's crazy. I'd never lived there, but I fucking love West Virginia. I do. I really do. I like going down there. Sutton is not a good town, but you know what? It really needs the business. So I'm all for people going and giving it to them. So once again, check that out if you get down there. But that's really all I have in the news for the week. So
All right.
here we are.
Anyway.
So we promised we promised during, well, I guess we did, yeah, during the Malaysia flight episode that we would discuss another very fun topic, a very similar one, which, of course we skipped a week to do OJ, but now here we are. As you guys know, the Bermuda Triangle. Pat, what's your earliest memory of hearing about the Bermuda Triangle? Was this a big deal to you as a child of the the 80s?
um yeah, it was kind of one of those, like, I guess one of the first mysteries that you're introduced to as a kid. One of the first things that pop up on your radar. Usually it's like Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster,
Sure.
stuff like that. And I think what always like freaked me out was that it, like, if this was accurate and like all these ships and planes were disappearing, like, why would anyone go through there?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't it like, why aren't there like fucking buoys in the water, like, to stop you, or like the Coast Guard like sets up a patrol? Don't, for the love of God, don't sail through there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that I think was like the first thing that like caught my attention as a kid was like, if it really is that deadly and mysterious of a place, why does anyone fuck around with it?
Sure.
You know. But
Wow. That's
that
true.
was it. But this is another one of those topics, kind of like, I guess that's the recurring theme this month, is like shit. Pat learns about shit, because I really didn't know what the deal was, as much as, because it doesn't affect me. I don't live over there.
Yeah.
I try to avoid southern spots as much as possible. I don't like to sweat. So this wasn't really like on my like list of concerns.
Okay.
But it was good to research, because I learned a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's, okay. So one of my earliest memories of the Bermuda Triangle, I'll say this, as a kid, I was under the impression that the Bermuda Triangle would be a problem for me, right? It was one
Like
of those
quick,
things.
right?
Like quicksand. Yeah, it was like
Right.
quicksand. You heard so much about quicksand, and I've never, you know what? I didn't even like, even today, I was like, is quicksand even real? Because I've never seen it, and it is. But I thought that I would encounter it more. One of the first instances that I remember of it was an episode of Rocco's Modern Life, and they got into the Bermuda Triangle. But the funny thing was is that how they portrayed it was, they're on the ship, and they were like in the middle of this bad storm, and they're approaching this area, and then this like black hole triangle kind of opens up and like swallows their ship in, and then and then they're in like an alternate universe, and then they end up coming back anyway. So something I'd always heard about, and I remember watching like some documentary or something about it at one point when I was a teenager. Of course it was interesting. I've always been into weird shit, of course, and I thought it was neat, but much like Pat, it wasn't something that I was like, oh my God, I love the Bermuda Triangle, I need to research it. I was never crazy about it. I don't go, I've never been to Florida, so I don't know. I've never been on a cruise like that. But I agree. It's like, well, if this is, one of those cases of, something is happening down there. Yeah. Again, why aren't they stopping people from going? I mean, people just continue to go out there in droves, and they're fine. So it was interesting to read about, while I knew the bare minimum of it, I didn't really understand. So I guess I'll clue you in for some people that don't know, because there might be some people that don't know. The Bermuda Triangle is a space that is, it's basically, well, oddly enough, right off the coast of Florida. Weird, huh? Um, but it makes up, basically, it's like this triangle, I guess, that makes up Miami, Florida, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Bermuda, the island. And so within this triangle, allegedly, all of these boats and planes go missing. Okay.
Right.
And, and not just that, a lot of them like go missing, and there's like, wreckage. They never even find the parts again. Not always.
Or a lot of times they'll send a search party out after them, and then that search party go missing too.
And then the search party will also go missing,
Right.
which is, what happened with Flight 19, which is kind of what popularized the Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
So Flight 19, I mean, I don't know. There was some guys went out on a flight and got lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, there's more to it than that. But
do you want me to do this?
Go ahead.
Flight 19 was one of the first incidents that caused people to attribute something paranormal to the region. It wasn't the first. Actually, I found one of the first, which was like cool fact number one. William Shakespeare's play The Tempest was based on tales of sorcery and shipwreck from that area.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Admiral Summers ran his ship ashore in Bermuda in 1609, and he was the founder of the English colony of Bermuda. And stories of his shipwreck are said to have inspired Shakespeare's play The Tempest.
Wow, I had no idea. Look at you. You really did do a deep dive on this.
Yeah, and Troma is releasing, Troma, who is, famous for a lot of things, but they did Tromeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of their more, I don't know if it's out yet or it's coming out soon. It's weird how they release shit. It's always fucking very half-assed. But they have
Troma.
It's kind of, they have a movie coming out called Shakespeare Shitstorm, which is
it is
kind
out.
of,
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where did you see it?
It's been running the circuit, the film circuit or whatever through the festivals and things.
Right, you're
Also,
right. They do
you can
like
subscribe
a
to
long
watch
like
Troma.
festival thing release before it's ever like available on DVD or streaming anywhere or anything like that. So it's
Well,
pretty much
it's streaming with their personal with the Troma streaming service. So you can do watch Troma, you get 30 days free, and then it's $5 a month after that. So and you watch all the Troma movies. It's fucking amazing, actually. If you really like Troma, get it.
which I is that okay? We're totally taking a detour. Is that available on Roku or is it only through the
It is
website?
not. It is only through the website. So like you could
Right.
run it through your browser. It's
That's
a
my
yeah.
fucking problem with that Trauma Now shit. Is that oh my god, I would have signed up with that from day one. Like I
Right.
would have made sure that was paid before my mortgage every month.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they won't do a fucking app.
I
And it's
yeah.
like what? Like come on, you guys got enough. You got a little bit of money in the bank. You
Well, there was
get
a prototype, and the prototype was good. I was involved. I was a beta tester for the beta version, and so I had it for a while. But it just fucking disappeared. It's gone. So I
right.
don't know. I don't know what's happening. I will ask the guy who works on it though, and see if they're planning on bringing it. But I agree. Anyway, yeah. So
Okay, so yeah, that was that's the earliest known incident of high strangeness. Is the guy that founded the place? The reason they founded the British colony was founded in Bermuda was because he was shipwrecked there, and then Shakespeare wrote a play about it.
that's very cool. I didn't know.
Columbus passed through the region on his first voyage of the New World, and he recorded that a bursting flame of fire struck the sea and caused a strange light to appear in the distance a few weeks later. So I don't know. There's not really too much to that one. In 1981, or I'm sorry, in 1881, legend has it that Ellen Austin, a ship sailing from Liverpool to New York, encountered a ghost ship in the Bermuda Triangle, and things quickly went awry. So that's something that's attributed to that area a lot, is these ghost ships, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. So a ship will go missing in that area, and then kind of like sail out of it or whatever. They'll find it on the open seas, and the ship will be intact, but the crew will be completely gone.
Yeah, which
And
I
that's
find
kind
very
of,
fascinating.
yeah, and that's something interesting to consider, because anything that's going to get rid of the crew, like if granted, there's huge fucking waves in the ocean. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another fun fact about the region that I'm gonna drop in a second. But it's kind of interesting to think that like no one would be on the ship,
Right.
but the ship itself survived. I mean, if a big wave came in, this is going to knock everyone off board, but then the ship's fine. So maybe it's pirates, maybe it's which still exists obviously today. Everyone remembers the fucking I'm the Captain Now, the fucking Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
So like there are still pirates on the high seas. One interesting thing about that area that I did not know, that I absolutely love this, is that that area is host to the deepest point in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, see, I didn't know that either.
Called the Milwaukee Deep.
Why is it called the Milwaukee Deep?
Because it was found by the USS Milwaukee. It was a Navy Omaha class cruiser that was doing some fucking testing in the area.
Okay. All right.
And they realized that there was a trench down there that's the deep. And then, over the years, they did more and more testing.
Sure.
And they realized that it's the deepest point in the Atlantic Ocean. So because of that, there could be all kinds of, and I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but I mean, it could be host to all kinds of rare sea creatures and stuff.
Sure.
Or another explanation that you get from that area a lot is that there's methane pockets that are released. And when that kind of comes up from that far deep, it creates like basically like a sinkhole in the ocean. If you could imagine like you're sailing your boat around and it's relatively flat.
Are you saying there's fucking quicksand in the ocean right now? Triangle.
Right? So like this air bubble comes up and it's like this huge air bubble, but when it pops, right? I mean, think about that. It leaves like a huge indentation in the water where you're going to drop down, and then the water crushes down on top of you.
By that.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So like those methane bubbles are one of the potential explanations, and because the water gets so fucking deep there, that's something that happens in those areas where you have trenches that go down that deep. So and that can also affect planes and stuff too, because like obviously the methane bubble comes up, and it creates the the hole in the ocean surface and there, but then the gas goes straight up and it could fuck with a plane that's flying overhead or something like that. But I don't want to get into all the different explanations right now. But yeah, it kind of ties into the Milwaukee Deep thing, and I love the fact that it's named after Milwaukee too, because I'm a big fan of Wisconsin. So
you like it there, do you?
I do.
Well, so it's, I mean, so there's all, you were telling like the tales of, kind of dating back to these, famous people like Shakespeare and Columbus and whatnot. So back when this kind of got more popular and this started going around, I know like one of the bigger publications that kind of pushed this all around was what was it, Fate magazine, which is
correct
for a lot of things. We've kind of talked about, well, I'm pretty sure we did during the Thunderbird episode. They're also the ones that kind of probably pushed the Tombstone photograph a little bit. There's a lot of high strangeness that you can date back to them. They're kind of one of the original, high strange publications. But
it's the magazine your weird uncle has a subscription to, I think you said last week.
Yeah, that's probably what
before the internet. Your weird uncle with a subscription to Fate magazine.
Yeah, no, it's a gem. If you can start finding copies of it, it's a lot of fun to read through. But yeah, so they had a publication on it, and then it just kind of went from there. I mean, then more places started posting articles on it. They're like, well, what is going on here? Should we be concerned about this?
Yeah, they did an article about, I think it was in 1950 or 1952, it was somewhere around. It was several years after the flight group had disappeared. But yeah, they wrote a story about Flight 19, and that kind of brought it back into pop culture consciousness.
Yeah.
And that kind of led to more publications doing exposés on the missing flight group. And then every time anything else happened in that area, suddenly it took on special significance.
Right.
And this isn't me being a skeptic or a non-believer, but something I think I talked about last episode or potentially the episode before was that a ship goes missing in the ocean like pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Like if you talk about all the shipping lanes across the entire globe and all the stuff that's, the shipping boats and the fishing boats and just everything out there that, if you look at how many boats go missing in the ocean a year, it's probably at least 300, 400.
It happens.
You break it down statistically about one a day. So, but when you have a magnifying glass on a certain area, suddenly, a boat went missing off the coast of Australia. All right, well, fucking tragic. But a boat goes missing in the Bermuda Triangle. Oh my God!
Right.
Taken by aliens. And there's a lot of stuff. And I mean, we could go through the list and list everything that's disappeared in that area. And we're not going to.
No,
but,
no, that's a lot. But we'll stop. We'll take pause and we'll talk about Flight 19 for a moment, and talk about kind of why it was strange.
Right. Well, very well documented too, because it was a U.S. Navy group.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
And there were I think five members.
Yeah. 5 torpedo bombers were on a training mission.
Yeah. Yeah, and they, they started having, they were communicating. They had gotten lost, right? Initially, I've read like 5 different sources on it. Just today.
Yeah, the compasses stopped working, and they were communicating with the airbase the whole time,
right.
And they were saying a lot of. There's a lot of like so you got 5 guys and 5 different planes,
right?
Fucking lost, trying to can't believe that we're lost off the coast of Florida, right? Like this is the mainland. You're not somewhere in the middle of the fucking South China Seas. Like there's fucking Florida. You know what I mean? Like we should be passing Connecticut any minute now. But yeah, and so there's a lot of talk back and forth, and you can kind of take snippets of dialogue from the conversations, and some of it's kind of eerie and mysterious,
Yeah,
because they were very disorientated, and the Navy actually went through great lengths. Originally, they so their disappearance is officially classified as causes unknown.
Yeah.
Which is very rare because usually they get to the bottom of why something happened. But some people theorize that the reason the Navy did that was not to put too much blame on the flight leader, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor. So if they had said that the flight group was lost because of a deficiency of navigation on his part or something, then it makes him look like this idiot that cost the lives of 5 airmen. You know what I mean? So officially, the it's listed as cause is unknown, although the official explanation also does cite compass failure, but that's kind of it.
Well, the Navy came out and said that it would have been impossible for the compass failure to have occurred, was what I gathered from it. They said that that would have been possible back in the 19th century, but at that point in time, it just wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been a thing. It just wasn't something that could have happened. Because, compasses are based on magnets, and that's what they thought initially, that something about magnets made these compasses go wonky. Because there are people that go through, I'll say that, I'll say that really quickly. There are people that go through the Bermuda Triangle, weird shit happens and they come back. Like, it's not that every single person that goes out there is lost. It's not that, it's just the cases of people being lost that are a problem. There are numerous cases of pilots going out in planes and ships, captains going out in ships, and weird things are happening, but they do eventually make their way back. But the Navy did come out and say that just wasn't something that they would entertain any further. But, again, back to those transmissions, really weird things were said, where they were, again, obviously disoriented. They were scared, they were lost, but they were like giving their location, and just based off of where their locations were, and, at least what they were saying their locations were, even if like the ships, or not the ships, but the planes ran out of gas, like they should have crash landed like in the middle of the fucking States, and they never did, and it just didn't make any sense. So what had happened was then they sent a boat out to go search for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and the boat went missing too.
And the boat went missing too.
Right.
So,
and they still haven't found the wreckage. And all of the years of just like random driving boats around the ocean and looking at shit off the coast of the United States. They find wreckage all the time. I mean, they're always finding shit.
They do, yeah.
But they haven't found anything related to that flight group, any of those planes, or
to connect to either of those two instances wrapped up in the one incident. Not the ship, nothing. Well, no, not the ship in that case. A lot of times, like we mentioned earlier, some of these ships, they'll go out and they'll come back and there's no crew. But the ships are, intact. So it's like, like Pat was saying, yes, there are big waves and storms and things that happen out there, and inclement weather. However, some of these instances, there was no inclement weather to have caused some of these things. Or, again, there's no real wear and tear on the boat, or there's just signs of things where it just didn't make much sense because other things stayed on the deck that if there was a big wave that came and took it out, it should have easily taken out whatever it was, like items, not people.
Right.
So, but yes, Flight 19 kind of popularized this whole situation again, which, there were instances before, but, here we are again talking about it, and the just all these other occasions. Again, you got people going out there anyway, and they survive, but they do lose their sense of direction. They report, seeing ghost ships, or lost time is also another thing that happens. But they do end up coming back to tell the tale. And, but eventually, once hype started going around again, there was a researcher that did decide to take it upon himself to kind of look into these claims a little bit further. And his name was Larry Koosh. I don't know how to say his name. I don't know.
I didn't come across it. So
interesting. No, he made a book. He ended up putting out a book in 1975 called "The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved." And what he says is that a lot of these authors and things, they had kind of written under dubious means. They were a lot of the stories were exaggerated, or inaccurate. He said that there were instances of people just, or some of these stories just straight up being false that never even happened. There's no record of them. But then he just went on to say that, in general, when it came to things like this, well, for one, the Bermuda Triangle is very heavily trafficked, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of one of those crossroads that we have where a lot of our, shipyards and things happen to be, and a lot of the trading takes place. So, like, yes, with more foot traffic, you're going to have more instances of disappearances. But again, like we said before, people just go out into the ocean all the time and go missing. That there isn't a significant amount of that happening in the Bermuda Triangle itself. Of the instances that did occur, things like the tropical cyclones and, storms and things like that just were, or, whatever explanation, we talked about the methane or what have you. There's a reason behind it, a logical explanation behind it. And that, again, these things are just overly exaggerated and then, of course, put out into the media and spun up to become hype. And it's just not even, it's kind of like a manufactured urban legend, just for the clout, I guess. But I did see there was a study in 2013 that was put out by the Worldwide Fund for Nature. And they were talking about the world's, 10 most dangerous waters, for shipping purposes. And the Bermuda Triangle was not on that list anywhere. So
Really?
it was not. So it is very interesting to say. And, kind of what made us bring this, well, kind of just in general lately. I mean, we were in that Twitter conversation with our buddy Tobias the other day, or a couple weeks ago, about the Bermuda Triangle. And, we talked about it again with the Malaysia flight, just how you don't really hear about it anymore. Nobody really talks about it. And, maybe that's because when this book was released back in, 75, it was already on the downswing. I mean, maybe people have already kind of chalked it up to it being nothing more than just, just a recipe for legend, rather than it being legitimate. However, I do know that the most recent report that I could find, as I mostly spent my time trying to find that, was, of a missing anything, was a ship that went missing in January of this year. So,
okay.
I mean, people are still going missing out there, but it doesn't necessarily.
Well, it's the Atlantic fucking Ocean. Like, it's going to happen.
Right. Does that necessarily mean that it's anything weird? I don't think so. Of course, being in the field that I'm in, I do know that there are places of note when it comes to high strangeness. Most of these places that I study are places that I can, well, for one, get to, and the ocean is not somewhere that I'm interested in going. But they're terrestrial, right? I mean, they're ground, they're not actually, terrestrial is not the right word, but you can walk on them. They're mountains and forests and shit like that. Why can't we have these places in the ocean? Why can't there be these, high volume, high strange places in the ocean?
Yeah, I'm entirely willing to believe that there's something going on in that area, be it, it could be something with magnetic poles or whatever,
Sure.
that happens in places. And some of the boats that have gone missing, there was a couple instances in World War I and World War II, which granted, time of war, where Navy vessels disappeared in that area, and they were carrying like war supplies like iron ore or stuff like that. And people have theorized that could have been the reason that the ship sunk, is because of some kind of magnetic flux that just sinks these, because what are battleships but great fucking steel ships floating around?
Right.
And yeah, they're kept afloat because they have air ballasts in them that keep them above water. But, if something you were to get a magnetic disturbance in that area, it could potentially sink these things.
Sure.
And that, and like I said, that's something that people have theorized, and sure, I'll believe that. But I also think it's kind of cool to think that there's a giant squid living in the Milwaukee Deep,
just sucking up these, snatching these planes out of the sky like King Kong and
the Kraken,
and yeah, the big Kraken out there. Well, which I mean, I'll tell you that there probably is a Kraken out there, but well, the colossal squid gets up to 50 feet. That's pretty goddamn large, and they could probably just continue to get bigger if they continue to be able to live. So I that dream is 1,000% alive and very real to me. So it's not going to be my place to kill the Bermuda Triangle for somebody else. What would I think it is if it is something supernatural? I wouldn't think it's supernatural at all. I would think that it probably would be some type of portal. I think that it would be, just a weird spot because again, I think that these portals exist all over the world, and these really weird places, and I just think if you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, you're gonna get swallowed up by it. So and maybe like these other instances of people that go out there and are they're experiencing weird things but they come back. Maybe they're just close to it, maybe they haven't actually hit that threshold yet, but because you're so close to it, it kind of gives you not exactly warning signals, but you get kind of some type of residual effect that kind of comes along, and they just got lucky and they narrowly missed it. I don't know. But
Yeah, maybe it builds up a charge and then it releases, and when it releases, a portal opens, or who
yeah,
knows what. Reality
right,
gets ripped for a little bit and then comes back together, and it's a stressor point. You know what I mean?
sure,
It's a point where things are allowed to kind of fucking disintegrate a little bit
you
and then
know
come back together again.
Well, I mean, why not? Why not a Bermuda Triangle? I mean, fuck, we're sewing female mice to male mice and making them have babies. Why not fucking Bermuda Triangle? And again, it is strange that all these people do go missing in the ocean to begin with, and then just nothing's ever found of them ever again. And they're just that's
Right.
it. I mean, and people in general just go fucking missing out of nowhere, and it's really eerie.
Oh, let's not talk about that shit. Bring up
People
Missing
get
411.
forewarned, right?
All right. Let's stay with the USS Cyclops, which
All right, all right, all right.
disappeared in Bermuda in 1918. Let's Because I'm not going to Bermuda next week, so that's fine.
We'll
Whatever
stay
happens to
there.
those people,
All
fuck
right.
them.
Well, people go out to the ocean all the time, and they just never come back.
Well,
And
the vastness of the ocean is one of those things that like always kind of freaked me out. Like I don't, it's a lot to conceptualize.
it's big. Yeah.
Yes, it's big, and we don't know a lot about it, and it can kill us because we can't breathe it, and
Yeah.
it goes down really deep, and who knows what the fuck lives in there. And it's just, and then sometimes it comes out. Like one of my, I worked midnights for a while, and dude, tsunami videos was like my go-to. Like some
What?
people watch like pimple popping videos and shit, and I'm like, oh, that's gross. But like, give me a good tsunami video on YouTube, and I will watch that shit at 3 in the morning,
You
fucking 5 days a week.
you enjoy
Like,
it?
no, I'm just like, I'm horrified by it. Like if you want to talk about like a horror, like people watch horror movies because they like to be scared. I watch Japanese people look at tsunamis until it's too late and then try to run away and get swept out to sea. Like that shit fucking melts my brain. And you ever want to? Because man, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen these before?
I have. I haven't in a long time.
Oh well, revisit them so we can talk about it on Twitter. But like you see the ocean like come back, it like rolls back, right? And then everyone kind of walks to the shore, and they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And then the ocean starts coming towards them, and the smart people start to run, and then the other people stand there and they watch the waves, like the water come in, but then like when you get to the point where like you'd think that the water would stop, it just doesn't stop, and it keeps coming,
yeah.
and it just fucks up everything, and like suddenly like cars are flying around, and like it's just like it's insane, and you watch the people like their reaction go from like wonder to like confusion to like abject fucking terror, because they're like, oh my god, the ocean will not stop coming at me, and there's like an infinite amount of it. It's not like it's gonna run out of water.
Yeah.
Like that shit's just gonna keep coming, and you better get up real fucking high and then hope whatever you get on top of doesn't like get fucked up and like crash or whatever. But man, like,
Well, if you want nightmares, actually, it kind of freaked me out. That freaked me out a little bit. Wow. I don't like
well, you're.
water either. I don't know how to swim, so
Oh no, I'm real good at swimming. I'm all right, but like, I have respect for something that massive and powerful, like, and I just don't fuck with it.
just sometimes the ocean comes for you. I mean, it's just
Stop it.
It does.
Don't be. Fuck you. That's eerie and weird.
But it's true. It does. That's what you're saying. It fucking hops up on the land and swallows people whole. It's scary.
Yeah.
It is. It's scary.
I don't like I like going to California, but like every time I go there or like we discuss going there, I'm just like, oh man, that's when it's gonna happen.
That's gonna be the day.
Right. Like I really want to go to I've never been to Long Beach before, and I want to walk in the shoes of Bradley Noel from Sublime and like just like see where all the Sublime stuff happened there.
I went to a Neil deGrasse Tyson lecture one time. I've been to too many of them, embarrassingly. But I went to one time, and the whole thing was talking about how California is going to break off into the ocean, and it's just going to be fucked one of these days. And I was like, oh my God. I'm never going there. How about that?
Really?
That's what he says. Yeah.
What kind of timeline does it give for that?
Very, 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 very soon. I'm pretty sure it should have happened already. But it's just one of those things. We don't really know. It's just like, Yellowstone. We don't know when it's going to blow up, but it's going to.
I've been talking about that since fucking, yeah. I mean, I'm a coast to coast listener. So the Caldera has been on my radar for a long time.
Yep.
And I mean, I'll die 45 minutes before you do. I mean, it's just going to kill everybody. The poison gas.
Just all of us, yeah, right. It's going to happen. We don't know. I mean, we kind of roughly have an idea when. We just know it's going to be soon, but not today apparently because it didn't happen today. It's one of the so the California thing is one of those things. Is that they had and initially it was supposed to have started because of Actually, you'll like this one. I'll tell it real quick. Because a meteor was supposed to come, a big one was supposed to come and hit the ocean. And when it did hit the ocean at that point in time and it tsunamied over California, then California was going to break off.
So wait a minute. But Neil deGrasse Tyson don't deal in prophecy.
No, he does not, but he's an astrophysicist.
And he says that he thinks that an asteroid's that'll be the chain of events that causes that to happen.
There's an asteroid that we expect that is going to come and hit our ocean. The trajectory that we are looking at, and I'll have to really look into it and see if there's been an update on it because I am curious because it was like fucking soon. I mean, like very soon. And so I probably went back in like it was probably 2012 or so when I went and talked to him.
So he knows that the asteroid's headed this way. Like this is something that we've spotted.
Yes.
Right.
And
it's probably going to hit the ocean.
Right. Which happens a lot.
Yeah. And he's saying that when that asteroid that we know is going to hit the ocean, hits the ocean, which we know it's going to do, it's going to set off a chain reaction that's going to cause California to sink into the ocean.
To sink into the ocean, right. Yes. That's what Neil deGrasse Tyson said during his lecture one time. But I'll find the claims for it. Maybe we'll talk about that. Sometime we'll talk about other doomsday scenarios. We've done that before. We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Did you ever listen to that Tool song about, do you listen to Tool at all?
No, I don't listen to Tool. No, I don't, not really.
Oh my God.
I mean, they're on radio.
My last rambling thought of the show. Listen to Tool. They're a good band.
Is that it?
And they're, they write good songs. They're kind of like at the top of their game musically, but their lyrics, they have a lot of really interesting conspiracy and occult stuff in there. And that's kind of like their bass player used to have a blog on the website where he would talk about, he was a chaos magician. He would talk about all kinds of crazy shit and synchronicities and experiences he would have on the road. And there was one, I can't even remember exactly what happened, but like, it's just worth checking out. If you ever want something to do a deep dive on when you're laying in bed one night, look them up. And they have a song about the meteor coming. It's actually crazy. It's called Hera. So maybe when you're doing the Google, look that up. But a meteor coming and wiping out Los Angeles, and the chorus is kind of learn to swim. And wow, I think I actually Ash, are you back? Oh my God, that was perfect.
I'm leaving it in. It sounds like you did it, and I'm leaving it in. Yeah,
dude, I just rambled through your whole. You dropped off, and like, you would not have known if I didn't. I was just tap dancing. I didn't look at my feet, and then at the end, I was like, "Oh wait, are you not here?"
I'm not gonna say. Well, I don't know. We'll see how the edit plays out. But for them, I don't think I'm gonna say anything about it. And we're just gonna pretend that it didn't happen. But now I'm acknowledging on the show that it did. It was because
Right.
Neil deGrasse Tyson got mad because I was talking about his theory that never came true or whatever. I don't know. It was a government cover up.
Yeah, it's Anima is the name of the Tool song.
Okay.
Listen to that. It's about the exact scenario that you just talked about a meteor.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if the meteor that deGrasse Tyson was talking about was named Hera, because that's what it is in the song. And Tool, what I was telling the audience is that Tool is a very interesting band, and they do a lot of stuff with conspiracies on cult stuff, and they're worth checking out sometime. Do a little digging.
Oh, okay.
You might be surprised. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will. I feel so lost now. I'm up to speed. Hi, audience.
Hey.
That's so funny. It was so weird. Anyway, I just didn't want to hear you talk about Tool. That's what it was. I'm just kidding.
I'm sure you've known many a Tool fans in your day.
Probably. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to push the limits any further. On what we can and cannot get away with. So I will just end it there. I don't know if I'm recording anymore, I think is the issue. But that's okay.
I think you are.
No, maybe I am. I don't know. We'll see. It's a fucking weird Wednesday, guys. But anyway, on that note, Bermuda Triangle. With that said, Pat will not be here next week. We will have a special guest, a very special guest. I don't even know who it is yet, but they will be very special, I promise. So until then, we'll see you guys next Wednesday.